as you can probably tell from my Green Bay backdrop, I am a very unhappy man this week. And that means if I can't be happy, I have to do my best to make sure all of you out there are just as unhappy as I am. You have been warned. Rambo. It's a movie that didn't really need sequels, but they're enjoyable enough. And yes, I am aware that the first movie is named First Blood. But being that the other movies just went for Rambo titles, I, like 99% of the population, just call it Rambo. Even in the movie where he doesn't directly kill anyone, they still got an R rating. That should tell you something. He basically engaged in A-team antics, and they still got an R rating. My personal opinion is because there's that one shot where I think you can see Stallone's junk. And believe me, no one wants to see that. Not even Mrs. Stallone. Or Stallone himself. So they slapped an R rating on it to be safe. But future sequels, he's just blowing people away by the dozens, including the latest movie that came out in 2008, confusingly called Rambo, when there's already a movie simply called Rambo 3. But I'll leave the diatribe on movie titles in a series that make no sense to the likes of the angry video game nerd. No, what I'm talking about is the absolute bottom of the barrel. 80s kids cartoons. Heavily censored 80s Saturday morning cartoons. And like anything that was popular for even 5 minutes in the 80s, Rambo got his. Oh boy, did he get his. Don't get too excited with the writer of a novel being credited in the opening credits. I'm pretty sure that was just a legal thing. Because this has about as much to do with Rambo as, say, in Star Trek Into Darkness has to do with Star Trek. In other words, there's not one thing about this. And by the way, the characters are so forgettable that even after watching this episode 3 times for this review, I couldn't remember any of their names besides Rambo. So, bear that in mind. The scene starts out with Rambo's nemesis in this series, I guess. He's so easily defeated, it's hard to think of him as a nemesis. Finding the lost city of gold, El Dorado, after his men bully a South American child who seems to have come straight out of the 1600s. Yeah, everyone who doesn't speak English is a stereotype. I swear, the screenwriter's name is just a pseudonym for Donald Trump. Because it's always up to a big, bulky, muscle-bound white man to save everyone with an accent. Don't believe me, just watch this scene. And I'm not worried about this video being copyright claimed, because I can't imagine anyone being willing to admit that they own copyright on this thing.
Hold it right there! Hand over that treasure!
You do not have to threaten me, senor. Here, take what you wish. It is only yellow metal.
The stupid peasant doesn't even know the value of gold. Hold him prisoner while we search the ruins.
No problem, General.
Okay, so you see that. Well, get ready for the next scene, as it is the most un-Rambo thing that you could possibly put in anything that has just had the words Rambo slapped onto it. Rambo is making jokes, not taking things seriously, and doesn't sound a thing like Stallone. In fact, the only nice thing I could find to say about this cartoon, its animation is standard for the time, but and everything. There isn't anything special about it, but there also isn't anything especially bad about it, is that, well, they do draw a pretty good likeness of Stallone, so I guess that's something. But they can't write like Stallone does. This isn't a Rambo who is haunted by anything, or who was traumatized by anything. This is just your happy-go-lucky Saturday morning action hero, kids. Go watch the R-rated films. You'll see the exact same character in them.
El Dorado? I thought that place was only a legend.
So did everyone else. Till now. Here's some recent aerial photos of it. As you can see, Warhawk's beefed up the place with his own fortifications.
The Marines would have trouble blasting Savage out of there without the local people getting hurt.
That's why I authorized a night weapons drop at nearby Tartasinga. It'll save you lugging everything through the jungle. And you're gonna need all the extra firepower we can supply you.
Sounds like you got some doubts about this mission, Colonel.
Not doubts, friend. Concern. For you. If I didn't know that Warhawk plans to use his El Dorado riches to finance a South American takeover, I'd let him rot there forever.
I'll remember that, Colonel. When I'm climbing up the hill with Warhawk's bullet zipping about my ears.
Okay. Now that he's off on his mission into the jungle to liberate the lost city of gold of El Dorado from General Evil Guy, which I thought El Dorado was always supposed to be somewhere in the Northwest or Midwest or something. I thought that's what the Indians always thought. That's what the Indians or Aztecs or whoever first told the Spanish about it said it was. Well, anyway, regardless of where it was, they're going to the jungle because that's where it's been found. It's not specified exactly where in the jungle they're going to. But, of course, like all 80s cartoons, Rambo had to have a racially diverse team at his back. Even though he does all the work in the episode, and they don't do squat to help him. So, who is his team? Well, an Asian stereotype who looks like she came straight out of an episode of Captain Planet and the Planeteers. The stereotypical accent and interest, of course. Because, as I said before, This episode makes me believe this whole series was the brainchild of Donald Trump. Then you have the black guy, who at first you think is going to be useful, but then you find out they sent a guy with a known recurring case of malaria on a jungle rescue mission. I am not even making this up. For some reason, Rambo and his crew are able to... His band of marrying men and women are able to be taken hostage by the local village tribesmen who seem to be about to sacrifice them. Okay, showing human sacrifice in an 80s cartoon, that's fine. Showing racial stereotypes, that's fine. But showing anybody actually getting shot is a no-no. I don't get censorship a lot of the times. Well, believe it or not, after this it gets worse and even more stereotypical. The boy who we saw at the beginning of the episode being harassed turns out to be the son of a tribe's chief. He gets attacked by a giant python, which is squeezing him to death. This somehow gives Rambo the extra little push he needs to break out, to just tear out of the ropes they were tied up in. Which begs the question why he wasn't willing to do this when his friends were about to be barbecued alive. But now that I've seen how useless they are, well, let's just say I can't blame him for needing some other incentive. He then, of course, attacks the python, and despite hitting its head against a tree hard enough to kill the thing, because it's an 80s cartoon, the snake just slithers off into the jungle and is no problem for anyone. Meanwhile, General Evil is explaining that his taking of El Dorado makes him the wealthiest man on Earth with all the gold. Why he clearly has the resources, so why he hasn't simply airlifted said gold out of the area instead of setting up a big military base there that is just waiting to be attacked, I have no idea. Rambo and his friends still have to make it to the... Oh, and after Rambo saves the chief's kid, of course, they're not only all let go, but all the dark-skinned natives start bowing down to the mighty white man and worshiping him as a god. Again. I want proof Donald Trump did not write this script. Now, Rambo and his friends have to make it to the weapons that were dropped for them. Because, of course, the military wouldn't make anything easy by, like, dropping the weapons with them so that they'd have them the whole time. They needed them in the dangerous jungle full of natives who burn people alive as human sacrifices. When they come across...
Talking about old. That boat is older than the Ark.
It is Captain Stogie, the riverman.
What's going on? World War III?
Just remodeling the town.
Please tell me I didn't see that right. This cartoon has the audacity to rip off and spit on the grave of a classic Katharine Hepburn, Humphrey Bogart movie. The African Queen becomes the Amazon Queen, and that's not the worst of it. the episode goes on with the boat sinking and having other mechanical failures. Before that, all they needed to do was to ram one of General Evil's boats with that boat full of explosives, and they would have full on done the African Queen. This review is getting too long, so let me try to summarize it quickly. Rambo and his friends, they get the tools, they try one assault, that doesn't work. But this causes General Evil to do a stupid plan. Send all his men to the area that they first attacked. Rambo then attacks them, leads them into the jungle, and without his team proving to be much use at all, including the Asian woman who now suddenly has a fear of snakes, so she's pretty much out of it as so far as being useful in this episode. You go into the jungle when you have a fear of snakes. Alright. I guess I can't complain too much because I like the Indiana Jones movies, but still, yeah, hand-picked team, my butt. But Rambo then comes in from the other direction, starts firing rockets into the guard towers, again with nobody actually getting hurt, spraying lots of bullets, which again, one thing this does have over G.I. Joe, I guess, is that they're not firing lasers, they're firing real bullets. And General Evil immediately folds and just runs away. Like Sir Robin. In fact, he might be even more chicken-hearted than Sir Robin, because he gives up immediately when he's just facing one guy and only has... But whatever. It ends the episode quicker. Of course it ends with everybody gathering around laughing and saying like Kumbaya or something, and that's it. That's the episode. This doesn't even reach the bare minimum to be a decent 80s cartoon, which is still a pretty low bar, let alone for having any connection with Rambo, any version. There's a reason why I was surprised to find out this existed, and a reason why I couldn't find anybody online talking about it. It is the most forgettable trite I have seen in a long time. The only reason it's scoring as high as it does is because I have seen worse 80s cartoons with worse animation. But that's it. There's nothing original on the writing front. It doesn't even need to be called Rambo. They could have called it Jungle Guy or something like that, or Jungle Team Rescue Force or something, and it wouldn't have changed a thing about this cartoon. This is the worst kind of schlock. So, my final score for this episode of Rambo: 2 out of 10. It's not the absolute worst thing I've ever seen, but it will haunt you, and for completely different reasons than the Vietnam War haunts John Rambo. It's just terrible. Avoid this at all costs. This is the sort of thing that makes you wonder why it takes forever. Why it takes forever to get the complete series of of a show like Hill Street Blues out on DVD, but this whole thing is out there. There are no words. So, except, see you next time.